Kevin, how are you?
I'm good, Chief. How are you?
Not too bad.
Yeah, I've been on meetings all day.
We got one more to finish today off.
One more.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
We can. Hi, Centron.
Hey, hello everyone. Yeah, sorry I'm running late, so I thought I'd zoom in, but I'll be there as soon as I can get there. I'm leaving downtown.
Yeah, sure. You're muted, Dr. Scott.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you look like you were saying hi. I just want to be sure.
Yes,
you did.
indeed.
Good evening, everyone.
Is everybody ready for that monster 2-inch snowstorm we're gonna get?
I won't complain.
I have a client in Bozeman, Montana, and they have feet. No.
I was able to copy those in our server, but I'm not sure we'll be able to get to it here.
Okay,
See, fine.
could you get to it from your email?
That's the problem with letting, I can sign on here, but I'm not sure.
Oh,
So I
okay.
always apologize. I'm a little technical conflicted.
Just realized I didn't print out a copy of the minutes.
Oh, from last time?
Yeah, the ones that we approved.
I don't have a hard copy.
The printer I have doesn't work with my new computer, so I have to email things to my daughter. I can pick it up on her old computer and things.
Which one? Send out one of these. It's a survey. It says.
Yeah, I pulled the survey up in the original format, so it has all the charts.
Yep,
Not this one. It's the vehicle report.
well, Kevin, maybe if when we get to that point, you just want to share that. I think you probably would have permissions to share your screen if you want to open it. It was more just a visual aid.
Right. Well, it's,
Have
yeah,
it
it's,
just-
if everybody wasn't able to get to it, it's kind of, it's not, Google Docs aren't always intuitive, but you kind of gotta search for all the different
Oh,
links
thank
that
you.
you get.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, I can share it when we get to that point. I've got it pulled up.
Whatever you want to look at.
Short and sweet, aren't they?
Yeah. And then we had all that in there. That was good.
Oh, yeah. Yes, that was all the work that
Yeah. Kevin.
the
Kevin
compliance
did,
committee that
yeah, I
Kevin
know.
put together.
Yeah,
Awesome.
there and I said, something looks good.
Yeah, yeah.
So I can't get them through my email, so I'm gonna try and open them and minimize them and then be ready.
Okay, great. Well, should we go ahead and call the meeting to order? And do we even have enough people here yet that we should do
We
that?
have a quorum.
Yep.
We
Okay.
do.
Good. Oh, that's right. It's really
Yeah.
hard to keep
Yeah.
count when half
Well,
of you are online. Okay, great. Well, yeah, let's go on ahead and get started. I do not know the formal way to do this, so if I mess something up, let me know. And let's start with the roll call.
Kevin
The only one-
Sombart present.
I'm gonna have you all listed,
Okay,
so. On a
We
roll
don't-
call, so
we don't
it's up to
literally
you, I
have
don't
to
think you
say.
really have to say that you're present.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
typically
we
you
got,
kind of do,
Do you?
yeah.
yeah, take a roll.
Well, we can go around the table and then we'll go back to online. Lexi O'Brien, present.
Scott Gresh, present. John Buck, present.
Sloan Carfield present.
Tina Clark Scott, present.
Kevin
Stefan Felder,
Sombart- Kevin Sombart present.
Everybody, I'm not really a member, so I'm not.
All right.
not here.
So next we'll go to the review and approval of the meetings, the minutes from the previous meeting. Do I have any corrections on those?
No,
No corrections?
they were perfect.
Well, half of it was from you, Kevin, so I would expect that. I didn't catch any misspellings or things that were
No.
missed.
Yeah, no, they were great. I like the new format too.
Okay, well then, we need someone to move that the minutes are approved.
I move there, a motion to approve the minutes.
Second. Okay, the meetings are approved. Question, does the president, can we move or second things, or we have to have other people?
If you're asking for it, you have to have other people do it, and then you have to take a vote.
Yeah.
First, second, and then say your name.
Discussion, then a vote.
Discussion.
Then a vote.
My goodness, okay. Do
Any
we have
discussion?
You
and
can
then
say all approved.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all approved.
and
no discussion, then do all approve?
Yay.
Okay, they're approved. And we should note that Katie has joined us now.
Hi,
So, yay.
everybody. Happy New Year.
Well, shall we move to the next item, which is any updates or reports from Chief Curtis?
I don't have any updates, ready to discuss number 6 whenever you, when you want to get into it.
Okay, let's do number 5 first, because it's kind of a follow-up from the minutes and our discussion in November. So one of the topics in November was coming up with a short statement of purpose that we could use when we meet people at events, that maybe we would even want to print it on the back of a little business card that we can hand out if we're at events, that talk, gives contact information for the PCEB and our website URL. And I really was struggling with that as we left. And I realized it was because I was trying to write a statement of purpose and I wasn't really sure what our purpose was. I know what the ordinance says. We are empowered to do some things that we're required to do, as Kevin has in that compliance document. But I had never seen anything where the board had come together and said, well, this is what I think the board should do. And this is, these are our priorities. So,
Well, how about our mission statement that we worked on and other aspects? We did spend some time on that.
And then I was even have the web page printed, which has a nice concise also, but
Yeah, keep going.
Okay, so the mission statement just seemed, yeah. So my experience working in communications, and we always have some strategy people in the group. They do a lot of work about what is the difference between having a vision, what's your mission, what's your purpose. Those do all tend to kind of overlap and flow into each other. We have a pretty broad scope of things that we could do. And I thought it would be helpful in sort of winnowing down to what's that core purpose. If people would be willing to share what they think is their purpose, members of the board, but we also have input already from the community and the survey that was conducted back in 2020 and 2021. So I was particularly interested in, there was one question in that survey that asked people to identify areas that they would like to know more about the police department and that the PCB could help, provide that information. And then there was another open-ended question about what did that community member think was the purpose. So I went through that. I had to export the data from the survey link that Kevin gave me. And that's when I made into a Google Doc. Next time I will try to have fewer emails. I think I had 3, sorry. But that Google document has, I would say, at least 25 different comments from respondents about things that they think are important. Some of them are just congratulatory to the police department. Others have like a specific concern. And I would like to request that someone step up and look at those responses and identify, what are the things that the community wants to see from us. It may not necessarily be purpose, but I think it would help me process, what are our priorities and how do these things fit together. So that covers, the context of what A and B are on the agenda. So A, we each bring our personal viewpoints and motivations. How can we share and form a consensus around that? So Chief Curtis obliged by giving me a response via email. And I wondered if we would either want to do it via email or if I shared a Google Doc and we each could put it in there. I remember I'm going to copy and paste what I put in when I was applying to be on the board. Because I think there's some information in there maybe that would be helpful. Does that make sense to you all?
Sure.
Okay, great. I'm going to go with the Google Doc unless anybody says, hey, I hate that, it's really hard to do. In which case, if you just want to email me, I can add your response in. So let's do that and share. And I need to look at the mission statement.
It's
and go
long
back to that.
and boring.
Okay, yeah,
It was a starting point. We discussed it a lot and it was really hard because we were brand new at the time.
right.
But it's pretty much taken from the ordinance. I think to me, it needs to be somewhat short and concise as a talking point.
Yeah.
And not legalistic.
Mhm.
So. But I think your idea of taking the survey responses and kind of going through those and coming up with some suggestions from the group is a great idea.
That's awesome. Can I get some volunteers then, if who would like to look at those?
I think everyone should.
Okay,
Yeah, I already scanned them. all.
Okay.
Yeah.
there aren't that many.
Yeah,
It was
they're not
just
that
hard
many.
to access before, so the export on Google that makes it easy. And I can change the settings so that anybody can go in there and export it. it wasn't a deliberate choice. I think Google defaults to being more secure. But I think that we can all trust each other with keeping that information in confidence, because it does associate with the emails of people, you know, if they provided it.
Can we
So-
cut and paste this, any comments, the sections? If we can, you know, highlight, cut, paste it over to a Word document or something like that and kind of put together what you think maybe a good,
Let's see if I can add, sorry.
Yes,
Anything you do, document wise, discussions amongst yourselves is a public record.
okay,
So if somebody wants that information, they can get that information. So if there is anything you're going to do that's going to be secure.
so what I've done so far, which is sharing as a secured, no one can download it.
And that's actually fine. I mean, if somebody would do a sunshine request of what that document is or what your work is, you would have to provide that.
That would basically be true of the existing survey as well.
Right,
right?
anything, any work product of the board, whatever form it might be, is a public record.
Okay. So in this case, we asked for people's emails and they requested it. So that would be my primary concern. I think everything else in this survey is fine.
That's why Neil suggested that everybody create a PCEV
Yep,
Gmail address so that your personal emails don't get mixed up with a sunshine request or someone asking public. So.
no, she's talking about the survey participants.
Yeah, the participants.
yeah,
those-
I'm concerned about those.
If it's entered into the minutes and we'll be looking at it, it's a public record or is released in any way to keep that from you.
Yeah, because we had talked about that and there was no way because of using Google Docs or using the Google survey form or whatever, it required you to do it. Now that may not be the case anymore because of all the privacy issues that have occurred. So if we redo a survey or we launch a different one or modify this one or whatever, if there's a way that we can turn it so that they're anonymous responses, I think that would be far better than requiring them to enter an email.
Yeah,
You have,
I-
you have to tell them that too. You have to say.
Pardon?
You have to tell the person, if we require an email, that their email will then become part of a public record.
Yep.
and I don't think that was in the original survey.
For
Well,
sure.
what can we do to protect that information? Is there anything we can do so that I would feel very uncomfortable
The
if
short
someone
answer to that
said,
unfortunately is no.
okay,
The likelihood of somebody requesting that is very slim, but if they do request it, you'll have to turn it over.
okay.
You shouldn't say the city will have to.
I mean, I responded to the survey and I wouldn't be, concerned about what I said. It's just, it feels like
I'm
if
sure-
we do a future one, let's be sure to make it anonymous. And it is what it is for this now. If it's easier for people to look at it in a Word document, I can easily copy those cells that are highlighted and dump it into Word. So I don't know if people are more comfortable with doing that kind of thing. And I guess I'll go with a Google document and I'm going to keep those comments out of context of the rest of the survey. So we can.
So
look
that
at
people aren't paired up with their comment. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a Google Doc with that. And then does everyone want to commit to reading those? And coming back to the next meeting? And perhaps identifying what are the things that you thought were particularly important? It could be either related to our purpose, or it could be related to activities that we want to accomplish this coming year.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna export responses. And there was also one other question that, it was more of a checkbox thing. And there were particular areas they want to know about police training, services offered, auto, business and home safety. I'm not going to tick off all of them now because I don't remember exactly. But I can include that pie chart on that same document so we can see it. those ones it's already tallied up. So that's easy enough. I think then that the outcome of this will help us distill that long mission into a purpose that feels more conversational and realistic to what we think, you know, we're gonna do. Okay.
Can
Super,
I share my screen a second?
absolutely.
So the link that you all received, let me go up here. You received something like this, and down at the bottom, if you don't know, it says data export or original form link. The data export is what we got. And then down at the bottom, the original form link. And then you click on that and it will bring up then the, let me get my,
It is really hard to click it, Kevin, you click, there it goes.
right, and it'll bring up the responses in a graphical format, which I have shared before, but I think we've actually gotten a few responses since I shared it the last time. So, but it's interesting to go through and just look at
If you pause right there, Kevin, that's the one I was thinking where we actually, I guess, the board suggested some areas that they thought would be of interest. And
Yep.
folks told us. And there were quite a few responses, so I know we felt sort of maybe initially disappointed that not many people answered, but actually that's a pretty good response rate. So 116 of all the responses, I think there were maybe 160 something total.
I saw 126 responses.
Was it 126?
Yeah.
I'm horrible with numbers.
So,
I gotta have the paper in front of me. So I think these items identified here are all information that I think could be really relevant on our website if we want to list like specific policies or advice. You know, if we work in cooperation with the police department to identify that information.
and then at the very bottom, this is where all the responses came in.
Yeah,
These are the and this is where some of the names, those responding come in, so it would be good to pull this over to a different document maybe, but these were all the comments. And I don't know if you can cut and paste, can you? Yeah,
well, I have all of that in the spreadsheet, Kevin. And
okay,
so what I'll do is it's already exported. I'll grab it from the spreadsheet and put it into a Google Doc. And we can work then from that.
yeah. But anyway, there's the graphical representation of the questions, so.
Great. Okay. Well, I've just assigned my first homework report. That was kind of fun. I used to be a teacher, so. Well, then let's move on to the next item. And that is property and public safety. And last November, we were talking about the rise in car thefts and what can the police do? And I'm not sure whether car chases were particularly brought up, but that was something that occurred to me is what are the constraints in which the police are operating in order to keep people safe? And I had assumed that there would be a policy, and indeed there was. And so I've shared that with all of you. And I thought it would be helpful for us to talk about that a little bit. Maybe Chief Curtis wants to give us an update on that topic, and if there's been further conversation, but to me, this was a really important consideration. You know, the community is concerned about the thefts. It is traumatic to lose, you know, a car or to have it be broken into. That feels like a big violation. But on the other hand, I've read stories and we've even had them right in, you know, the St. Louis community where, you know, a bystander was hurt. And so there are risks to do pursuits of people in cars. So Curtis, do you want to talk a little bit about sort of that area?
Well, hopefully, if you're an interest in it, you're able to read the policy. It's the pursuit policy that's part of the policy, the entirety of it. It's fairly short, but it's a very restrictive policy. It's been in place since 2003. I think we revised it again in 2010 or 2013. I forget what it was, with some minor adjustments, but the pursuit policy has basically remained the same for almost the last 20 years. That is, most departments, including ours, are operating communities that have a concern for public safety and the safety of the residents and the general public. And police pursuits, unfortunately, do present a danger to the general public. So we put restrictions upon a pursuit where we only allow it in case of deadly force being an element of the crime. So for property crimes, the vehicle thefts inside the autos, officers are not allowed to pursue. As for instance, I say a number of occasions, but just last week we had two interrupted stealing from autos where they interrupted the crime in progress. The suspects were able to get into a car, take off. And once they hit 90 miles on the highway, that's it. It's over. We don't pursue for that. Because of the increase in thefts, and we've had over 100% increase in auto thefts in the past year. And the fact that in the region, we are considering relaxing that policy between midnight and 5 a.m. when there's little traffic, almost no pedestrian traffic on the roads. We still have some restrictions on it. We'll be careful about it. But one of the things we were looking at, we were going to implement a power shift, pull 6 officers, put them on a permanent night watch, allow them to have basically concentrate on these types of crimes and change the policy, be affected by that policy where they actually could pursue within reason, and once they've got too dangerous that they would have to pull off. We're also thinking about the spike strips, which we have never utilized. There's a danger with those to the general public, but also to the suspects. And and I think it's legitimate. Certainly, no one likes the suspects, and no one likes to have their stuff taken out of the car. But at the same time, is it a just punishment for somebody to be severely injured or killed as a result of a pursuit that makes it into an accident or something like that? So I mean, that's another consideration. So we're looking at that. There's serious discussions about whether or not we want to implement, first of all, relaxing the pursuit policy, and second of all, using the spike sticks. If we did do that, there would be a lot of training involved. We would only authorize the use on the exit or entrance off of the highway. So we're not going to be putting them out on the highway where the car is doing 90 miles an hour and tires are going out. We're only doing something where, that the best the car might be doing 30 or 40 miles per hour. So it would reduce the chance of the suspect being severely injured as well. So those are things that we have to consider, but at the same time, because of the volume of thefts and the fact that the people who are perpetrating these things really have no fear of the police or know that we're not going to pursue, that might be necessary to change that to help protect the community. So it's a serious conversation. Whenever we think we might be moving on it, something I would certainly let you all know about. But I've had conversations with the city manager, and so we are thinking about those things. We wanted to increase the manpower. The problem we went into, unfortunately, today is hiring and retention. We were fully staffed and we were planning on doing that. In the last month, we have had resignations, retirements, where we are now down 5 officers again. So it's going to be, we're going to have to wait till we hire and get staff back up before we are able to put that into place.
Did you say there was 5 or 6 officers that were?
5,
Five.
is that right there?
Or
And,
leave this
and
month and then we
Rick,
have.
yes, Rick's leaving in February, mandatory retirement, he turns 65 in February, so we'll be down 5 officers this month.
Any concept for what percentage of these car thefts would be preventable? With simple measures, we mentioned that last meeting, that a lot of these were unlocked cars or they had things visible in the car. Is that hard to know? And maybe most of the effort should be towards prevention rather than pursuit.
We don't keep that as a data point, and it's something we might consider doing. It's to how many were locked and unlocked vehicles. But I can confidently say that at least 80% or more of the vehicle thefts and thefts of models are a result of an unlocked vehicle, or someone leaving a key fob next to the garage or in the laundry room or something like that, where all they have to do is get in and push the button and start the car. So that would eliminate probably 70-75% of that. Are they going to break into the car so they can't get into them? Sometimes, yes, but most of the times we get when they're getting interrupted or whatever, what happens is it's mostly juveniles and older teens. They'll come in as a group in a stolen car from someplace else. 2 or 3 of them will get out and they'll just walk the neighborhood while the car is either waiting or driving around. And they're checking for unlocked cars. They're not breaking. They don't want to make a lot of noise. They don't want to disturb the people that are sleeping. They're just looking for open car that they can easily take and go with. So if the people would lock their vehicles and not leaving anything in the cars, the odds of them actually theft happening are reduced tremendously.
And one more minute. Just curious if there's new technologies that you would recommend, more video surveillance within your own home area. I know when my car was smashed up, I didn't have surveillance on the outside of my property, which could have picked it up potentially. Didn't know if that's something also that could be included in prevention, recommended technologies.
It would help
to-
to some degree, but I mean, honestly, like the link cameras and those kind of things. They'll show your car being taken or somebody open the door, but they're not defined enough. And usually there's a mask or whatever it is. And you can see it happening. You can see the person. You might be able to tell the race of the person or tell if they're male or female. But as far as getting an actual description or having anything that we can actually follow up on to locate a suspect, it's rare. Having said that, it's another thing that we're not just looking at. We applied for a grant. We'll kind of wait and see if we can get the grant. But whether we do or we don't, we're looking at getting 6. They're flock cameras. They won't identify the driver, so that's one of our concerns. It's people's privacy. But we're going to put them up at the intersections so that people coming in, if they're in a stolen vehicle, it'll get a hit on the plate and it will notify the officers on the MDTs. You got a car that just came through the police station road and Big Bend, and it's a stolen vehicle. So they'll be alert that somebody is coming into the city in a stolen vehicle and be much more apt to be able to at least find somebody that'll know where they came in at, and they'll know that there's probably some good possibility of stuff's going on here. Because again, that's usually what happens. I mean, not always, but I'd say the vast majority of the time, it's they'll steal a car from someplace and go into another venue and they use that car, and stealing other cars or getting into cars and stealing things from the vehicles.
And what about the Apple tags, that you can put on your keys and everything, can you hide one in your car? And could that be usable?
If somebody has a GPS, there's cars that have that technology in the software in the car, where some of the more luxury cars or whatever, where it's happened that you're able to track the vehicle and see what's at. So that definitely is a help. But and there's inexpensive ways to do it. Most people don't have the GPS in the car. If you have that, yes, we can track it. I mean, it's helpful.
Thank you. I know you shared a lot of that last time. It just clicked for me, the cameras at the intersections, how that would be useful. It's identifying stolen vehicles because it's stolen vehicles roaming around neighborhoods, working with the groups of folks that are checking for unlocked
They're not
cars.
prohibitively expensive. Like I said, we're applying for grant to pay for half of them. Hopefully we can get that. But we're looking at putting 6 of them at the intersections that are most likely that someone is going to come into and go into a neighborhood.
As a person from a communications background, this seems like a really big public education and communication issue. And I wonder if our board could make this something that, you know, we want to look at trying to use our website and work with Jen in the city who manages the social media channels. We'd have to figure out, you know, how we want to do it, but I mean, it's pretty simple. Lock your car and keep your keys secure in your house. And that would alleviate a
We've had
huge
on-
percentage of
We've
the
had that
problem.
on the city website, on our Facebook page, the police Facebook
Yeah.
page. We've also put it out on eSense. It's, for some reason, it's just, there seems to be a difficulty with the people who have that message and receive it because it's a changed environment and people, you know, in bedroom communities like ours in the past haven't really had to worry about it. It's just a hard message for people to receive it. They don't like thinking that they have to do that. They like thinking that I can leave my car, key in the car, and I'm walking out and leave stuff in the car. So it's just difficult to,
Yeah.
to get people to have that kind of a mindset.
Kevin's got his hand up.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Dale, do you have any idea? I mean, I'm sure we could look this up, but do you have any idea on as far as the distance away from the vehicle that a fob? Because I know that if it's close enough to the vehicle, even though it's inside your house, they can still get in and push the button and start the car.
It depends on the cars. It's becoming more with the newer cars, especially where you have to be really close to the cars. And on some of
Okay,
the older cars especially, if the fob's within like, 15 or 20 feet, it's gonna work.
okay. I know mine, it has to be actually inside the car for it to actually work. So-
And a lot of cars now, that is pretty much the standard, but in the older model cars with the fobs, you can be a pretty good distance away and that car's gonna start if the fob's anywhere in the vicinity.
Thank you.
I mean, I know we've talked about, maybe none of us are experts at using like some of the like graphics that they use, but I think this would be such a good graphic image about, that sort of a public safety, just a Instagram post or a Facebook post that people could actually share, something where you could say like, I could put it on my Facebook or my Instagram that says, hey, this is, heart thefts in Webster up 100% in the past year. Remember to lock your cars. And then I could put that and then somebody could cut or, could forward that. And that would be, something that I think people would be engaged in.
Something that people would be interested in sharing.
Yes. Yeah.
I really do think that, a communications campaign of some kind. It's hard. You can keep
Habits
saying
change
things
in
over.
30 days. We could do 30 days of public safety and for 30 days, put that message out and say, habits change in 30 days. There's a new habit to get into, but lock your car, take your fob in, prevent car thefts and Webster Groves.
Right. The other phrase that occurred to me, but this is kind of the negative spin is, people say it can't happen to me,
Right.
or it wouldn't happen here. And so we can really kind of poke at that. So people understand theft happens anywhere and it actually is. So I think the statistic of, how much it's risen, and it's not just Webster Groves, it's regional. And I think people are probably unaware. There are people that are very fixated on it. And they're the ones that are maybe reading the crime logs and in the Webster Kirkwood Times. But there are a lot of people that's not part of their world. They're more focused on whatever, going to work, raising kids. They just really aren't that cognizant of a safety issue that they could control. So. We have two committees that kind of overlap and could relate to this, the education committee, but I think that was maybe conceived more as how do we educate ourselves within the board, so that's probably not it. And I had headed up the communications committee. If that's something that we would want to continue looking at, or if we want to form a completely different group that wants to look at this idea and think of like what might cut through the clutter and help educate people that we could share in social channels. And I'll volunteer to reach out to Jen Starkey and ask her for ideas, but I know she has volunteered to share the city's channel. And I have friends who are designers. We might be able to come up with some graphics if we had, stats or slogans that we want to give a try, and we can experiment. We'll see what seems to work, and we can share it maybe in different Facebook groups.
I think that if we could get it down to like 3 points or something that we wanted to have on like a little thing that we shared on social media, I can like use Canva or something and design it too. In my marketing class, we learned how to do that. So I think we could do, like, I think that would be helpful because I don't know where that stuff, if it's like available in the newspaper and stuff. I know kids my age definitely probably aren't reading that. So if it was something that was more like really easy, you could like read the whole thing in less than 5 seconds, like colorful type of thing, that maybe would get the word out better. And I think that could be something with like communications.
Okay.
Does that makes
Hey, Sloan, has this happened to any of your friends at school or any folks at school where their car's been broken into?
no, I don't think any of my close friends have had their car broken into, but I
Okay.
think most of my like close circles probably pretty good at locking their car, but
Right.
I'm sure it does happen to kids though. I just haven't talked to that many people about it.
Well, it's not just here either. I mean, down at the foundry, they had a bunch of cars smashed. Their windows were smashed. While people were
Yes.
inside. So,
Yeah, that wasn't her car, but one of my friend's parents, they were at the Fox, I think on Saturday night, and like 10 cars or something like all in a row had all gotten broken into and living there, so.
And in those cases, I don't think that's an area that we could do much. I mean,
Right.
if somebody's gonna smash a window. But I think this communications aspect, Chief Curtis, how difficult would it be to start collecting the data of the cars that were stolen? Were they left unlocked or the key left?
I was unaware, but Aaron told me that we get care, it's now a searchable thing, so we can, right now. Probably not to the exact number, but something close to what it is.
I would love to have a stat that we could share.
I think having something like just a stat and like a short message.
Yeah,
Do we have a logo for this message we're sending out? It's coming from us.
Oh yeah, that'd be good to like put in the
Just-
corner.
oh,
Yeah, brought to you by
I
the.
like that idea.
Just because, we're getting information from everywhere and you want to have, this is coming from,
Like
this board.
Yeah.
and it promotes that this exists and where the information's coming
That's
from.
I can't access it on here because it won't let me on Facebook, but our Facebook page. Again, a number of times, and it's still on there somewhere, not too long, and it's not just us, there's a lot of departments there. It's called the 9 PM routine, and it's got just 3 or 4 bullet points of the 9 PM routine. On what you should do, you can do every night, just to check, make sure your car's locked. and your house is locked.
I think that is. memorable.
So it sounds like the communications committee is gonna get together and maybe we'll do some more work on that. I'll send out an email and we'll see if there are particular nights that are good.
Yeah.
And then we'll bring something to the next board meeting. At least the ideas of, we think these facts be good, and if Sloan's getting creative, wants to give Canva a try, that would be really fun to share. If we get something together before then, which is ambitious, I know, but sometimes when you move fast, it's easier to bring it to closure. Is everyone open to getting something via email and,
Yeah,
Ask
it's
your
been
opinions.
approving it that way.
okay,
Civic Canva, piece like this, like JPEG.
Yeah, you can save it in like lots of different ways, yeah. So where's the 9 PM routine thing that you said?
It's on the police Facebook page.
Okay.
I can get to it on my computer, but I can't get to it on this server because most of the city's locked out from using Facebook.
all right. Very good. So number 7, listening to community input. I wanted to bring back up, we know that we have a commitment to produce a town hall. I think, Kevin, we already had suggestions, I think, from you and from Emerson about the timing of that, and I don't remember exactly what was said. It seems to me that we need to appoint some people that are really going to focus on pinning down that date and starting to plan that town hall. Do I have any volunteers? I don't think we have a committee that's focused on that kind of thing.
Sorry, I was looking for the thing on there. So what are you looking for?
So what I'm looking for, we know that we have a commitment to do a town hall. And we've also discussed doing some listening sessions. I'm feeling like we need a date. We need to choose
don't-
something. We need to do that.
We don't
now.
have a commitment to do a town hall. There is nothing in the ordinance that says we have to do a town hall. What it says in the ordinance is we have to do a listening session, at least one.
Okay,
There is no mention of a town hall in the ordinance.
okay, good. Thank you for correcting that
Was it
perception.
Maybe Emerson was
I think
kind of.
Emerson was kind of leaning towards that, yeah. And I'm open to doing a town hall. It's just choosing one date
Yeah.
to me is we need to get it on the books if we're gonna do it, so we can promote it well in advance and people can plan for it. I also like the idea of the listening sessions. And I think those, we talked about just a couple people
Right.
saying, hey, I'm gonna be at Redco
Mhm.
between these 2 hours and come by. I'm interested in hearing from you and talking to you, hearing about what you think the police community engagement board could be doing. To help us be, a good, strong community.
I feel like, I think what we talked about, when we talked about this, maybe it was in November, is that I think that people might feel more open and comfortable
Mhm.
and participatory in a smaller setting than in like coming to a town hall and standing up and saying something publicly. So I prefer the listening session ideas, but we still need dates and we still need to think about how to get the word out. And in fact, that was just making me think of that. So over probably in June, a reporter from the Webster Kirkwood Times had talked to me and she was like, oh, we're gonna do an article. And then that never happened. But I do think a town hall is a nice way to re-engage with the newspaper to, she could probably use some of what she had from that interview and then also promote a listening session or several listening sessions or however we want to think about that.
Yeah, we talk about this at meetings and I feel like we need somebody to just say, okay, let's do this. Let's commit to doing a date.
In the past, like, has the school board done listening sessions at the Bread Company? Am I remembering that, or is it city council? I know they've had it's like, hey, there's gonna be people from, maybe it's the school board hanging out, so.
Or like meet an officer and meet a city council person.
We don't capture the coffee. We haven't really done it since COVID, but we used to do it once a year at the Breadco or Straub's.
I'm happy to, work with Bread Company or talk to them and see like, how do you do that from their point of view? Do you have to like?
Right, so
Yeah.
you're not like
Right,
infringing.
so
on it.
I am
We've
happy to,
always touched base with them, so this is what we'd like to
Yeah.
do, and they just improve it. The other thing you need to recognize, I'm not trying to discourage it, I think that it's something that's probably important to be done is, as you can see, we have no attendees thing. It's very difficult when you've got cops with, with coffee. You might get a half a dozen people show up if you're lucky. You're
Mhm.
the only people that, for those times you have a conversation with people, just people that come there and have actually see you, happen to see you, that you can
Yes.
talk to. But as far as someone actually coming in for the purpose that you want to be there, you get close to zero participation.
Yeah, that's my concern too, is that we would set something at a date and then we'd say, what do you want us to do for you on this board? And they have no idea what the board does. So there's no conversation. I mean, we have to be pretty strict with talking points about all the stuff we could talk about and treat it as an interview almost more than. My view would be that before we do a lot of listening tours, we do something to get some content out there about what we do, whether it's this, effort to reduce crimes against vehicles or stolen vehicles. I mean, I think we have to do a few things and get some street cred sort of before we engage in, because I just don't know what I would say that we do, frankly, that would be valuable for a person in the community to kind of know about, because I don't think that we've had a lot of opportunity to do that kind of outreach on specific topic kinds of things. So I tend to agree. I can imagine like, well, what do you want the board to do? Well, what can you do? We have an email address. I mean, I think there's.
I see your point.
I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm saying if we pick a date, let's pick a date in May when it's gonna be springtime and nicer. And build back from that. What are 3 things we
I
want to do between now and May? So at least we have something to promote. I mean, it could just be a listening tour that includes, hey, before you go, here's a handout, here's 4 things to do, here's our site, you can get upset about something I'm concerned. But we gotta have something to save.
It actually goes back to purpose, which is it, when we have like a standardized, clear purpose, that will be a signature part of how we introduce a listening session, even though we're gonna be listening. Yeah, so, I mean, it might be that we say, we'd like to have 2 or 3 listening sessions in the second part of the year, July to November, but prior to that, we're setting up that those can be successful or useful.
Or they can be topical. I mean, we can have a listening session on car thefts.
Yeah,
Just have that be the only topic we talk about, just so people have stories. You might not know someone, but you've heard stories. I mean, you could have a topic that would be
that's a good
relevant
idea,
as opposed to, well, let's shoot the breeze over bagel. I gotta go to work. I mean, it's sort of, there's gonna be something that incentivizes you to want to talk.
Yeah, I think my initial perspective on this probably doesn't align with the PCEB, but I was thinking about, we have a number of council members that will do that, and they just regularly, hey, I'm gonna be at Breadco at this time. You wanna stop by, chat? It may just be that, we talk about our kids, but you might have something that you're concerned about, city council, or something that's happening in your neighborhood. But maybe, that is a commitment of time for us, and if we'd be disappointed if only 1 or 2 people stop by. I think you're right, being more prepared and like having some more credibility. Because we've already been told in the survey, there's information that people would like to see. I'm sure the police department on your site, you have a lot of that, but it's almost overwhelming how much stuff might be available. So I think as we go through that purpose and we go through the survey to see what people are asking for, I'd envision that some of that information would feed into things we could share on the website that would be helpful, as well as that would prepare us for talking points for these listening sessions. Are we all comfortable waiting until, May, when the weather's good, to do this?
Yeah, I think it's worth it to figure out what we should do at a session like that. I mean,
yeah.
For a city council member, there's a known quantity. I have a big pothole in front of my house with any number of things to
Yeah.
state going to city council. Hey, can you fix this? I don't pick up the garbage truck. I mean, there's any number of things that they know a city council person can do, but we don't have that credibility yet. I don't think it's hard to build out. But
And I think also we don't even have still the visibility. Nobody knows we exist yet. They wouldn't know who we are to come to us. It's not like, oh, the mayor's sitting there. It's us and who are we? I still think promoting like we've tried, have events that continue to push our visibility so they know we exist. That's where I had mentioned to Alexi that somebody came up to me recognizing I'm on the board, said, that they would wondered if we could have, firefighters and police officers have a competition, and that's shown up in some of the surveys in the past. They've had similar, guns versus foes events and what have you, but I think maybe rather than how that's been done, having something like that tied to, a fundraiser at Rock Hill Ministries and an event, and we're just pulled into part of that event as one aspect of such a thing. I wonder about, because I think we need to tie ourselves to something bigger so that people even begin to know us, rather than expect them to show up for just us at an event. That's something I wanted to throw out there.
Well,
but
and
then I,
that makes me think about doing outreach, like if we were gonna do some listening sessions, doing outreach to organizations. So in the past, we've gone to organizations and we've said, hey, but we could also outreach and say like, hey, Alliance, or hey, other organizations that we haven't connected with as much. We're gonna have a listening session on May 5th, and we're gonna be there if anybody's, in the past you all have been engaged, or in the past you haven't been engaged, and we'd love to see more of you. But reaching out directly to like invite to listening sessions, that's another way to go about it too.
I was just thinking of, they had the concerts, the porch concerts, and that
Right,
got a lot of us out to different areas of the
Right.
community
right.
that I hadn't even been living here 22 years. And if you could tie to something like that, that people are naturally interested in, and then, oh, by the way, we have, other events that we're involved in and we're there.
Yeah.
That's what I was,
Yeah,
and then you have the visibility and you can push what you're doing and who you are to have a listening session, maybe.
all right. I'm not sure what the conclusion of all that is, but basically we can kick the can down a little bit while we focus on our content, our purpose, and our communication strategies. We're getting our purpose up.
And I think it's really a very good idea to do something topical, like we're listening about car thefts. And that, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Kevin and Tina, you good? I feel like you're so isolated out there. Okay. All right, well then let's go to updates from board members and subcommittees. John, was it you that had the Webster University redefining public safety presentation? I noticed that in minutes from a previous meeting that we had to postpone that.
And it was my colleagues that have been doing some like trauma kind of informed counseling for first responders. It was a colleague that does some research about that. We talked a little bit after that about what resources are here. And so we just couldn't find a time that would work out that they're open to coming and talking about what their program was and what their research was kind of showing. So I can reach back out to that.
I think it would be really interesting. I saw it might not have been affiliated with your colleagues, but it was with behavioral health response.
Yeah.
And some others, and they actually have a formal arrangement with the St. Louis Police Department and with the call diversion program, and they do it a little differently. I know our 911 goes to a central dispatch, but they had it was structured differently for them. And they had actually a significant number of calls that were diverted, and PHR had stats like you would not believe about, what were the outcomes of those calls and what kind of follow-up and resources they were able to offer. And it was just really informative. So I'd be interested.
Yeah, following.
Kevin, did you have anything with the ordinance compliance subcommittee? Anything that, as you went through those various requirements? I love that spreadsheet, by the way, that you think we should be paying attention to in the very near future?
Well, we're gonna have to put a plan together. which is essentially the document. Right? And that way I mean, but one of the questions I have not heard from the city council or any city council members on whether or not they've corrected the language.
Yeah,
Or have they even brought that up? I mean, they've been really focused on the budget. And that's probably been 98% of their attention at this point. But the ordinance language needs to be cleaned up.
If you all will give me what it is that you want cleaned up.
I did last
I can-
week. Yeah. Or
If you,
last,
if you could give it to me in an email and with some specifics on what it is, I'll get it to Neil, the city attorney. And they can work on it, but it's not gonna be it's not gonna be a top priority of the council, because like you said.
oh, I know.
And the charter review board, they have subcommittees on those, so that's something that's probably gonna be in the back burner until spring.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I can send you what I put together, but I already circled and highlighted and actually put in what it should be.
Okay, if you can send it to me, I'll get it to the city attorney.
Okay, that's fine.
sounds like Emerson was maybe a little overly optimistic at the meeting where we talked about it. It's like, oh, that's easy. But I guess they really do have to look at it, you
Well,
know.
it's just spacing.
Yeah, it was
It
just
just
weird
maybe
line
some
breaks
space
that got introduced and
Realize.
messed up.
Doesn't change.
Yeah, I think we can still go forward. We know what it's supposed to. be.
Yeah, I mean, I read in between we knew what it was supposed to be like, and that's how Scott and I prepared the,
It may very well be a
compliance
formatting
document.
formatting issue, where when you actually look at the hard copy of the ordinance, it's maybe what you think is okay, but I don't know that.
I don't know.
We went to the PDF that's on the
What website?
website that was signed by the mayor, and the formatting issues are in that copy.
Alright.
So that's why
I
we
just don't
wanted
know
to
what
correct
needs to
it.
be done in order to correct the formatting issues. There's really no change in verbiage. It's just,
That may be a city clerk thing. If you wouldn't mind, Kevin, I know that you did, I do remember seeing it, but you might send it to me, I'll. Katie's off
find
this
it and
week,
send
but
it.
I'll check with her. It may just be something she can do without it even going to the council. It was not a verbiage change, it was just formatting. She could probably take care of that.
yep.
Education subcommittee.
Well, that was the
That
redefining
would've
public
been
safety
that.
would have been under
Mhm.
that, and so we haven't really, I'll probably send out an email to see what are folks interested in being more educated on in our group, so.
And I'll wait to ask at the next meeting, Emerson will perhaps be there. I'm interested in the timing for that DEI training that the city's conducting, and
Yeah.
just so I can get that on my calendar. So, communications committee, I have one quick update on the name tags. We have that $30 a tag estimate for permanent tags. The lanyards, you can get lanyards and name tags on Amazon. $25 for 50 of them. Run them through a printer. I got a printer at home. We can print off sheets with everyone and you can just hang on to yours. That's what I recommend that we do.
Yeah.
So, is there anything special that we need to do? I am willing to order them on Amazon or go out to Office Depot and get it.
Let me talk to Jenny.
Okay,
It may be something that she has to already tell her what it is, but I'm not sure about that. But you have the budget, so obviously $20 is not an issue. Let me check with her and I'll get back to you.
okay,
And if you're willing to, city may just reimburse you, I'm not sure, but let me talk to her.
okay, great. One of the things, Scott, that you mentioned is if we had some kind of branding or logo or something that stands for the PCEB in the social media campaign about, locking your car. That would be so cool if we could come up with something we like. and put it on our name badges, and then people would start to maybe associate the two. Yes, we'll have a brand. So, Sloan, you want to be a designer?
Yes, I feel like I would need some help on like what, like maybe at our communication session, we could do it all together.
Yeah.
Like I can design it, but I would probably need some help on like what we want it to look like.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't
And
ask me, I don't have a creative bone in my body.
you know, that's something that Jen could help us too, like she could give us advice, like if the city has any guidelines. You know, about boards doing that kind of thing, and if there's colors that are associated with
Yeah.
Webster Groves that we want to use, or even typefaces.
Yeah.
Because I think we do want that connection with the city, because that's who we're here to serve. So that'll be fun to talk about. I
Yeah.
love that kind of thing.
Okay, sounds good.
But my skills are not so good in the latest software. Okay, do we have anything else that we want to discuss? Okay, well, before we adjourn, I'd like to do kind of a check with y'all. How do you feel this meeting went? And what are things that we could do to make it better next time?
It went very well.
Well,
It was very organized. I mean, it was specifically what was to be discussed, and not that it hasn't before. I think we've been
Yeah.
doing well. I think we've been building on it, and I appreciated receiving the various bits. And I agree, if we could have them in one master email, that might.
I
help
will do that next time.
As far as the area of improvement, but that's fine.
Look, it was good for me. I appreciate it. I think if I think of something, I'll let you know.
Okay,
Yeah, I think we just need to continue building towards some momentum to have something that we've done and produced and can show, and there's a name tag or a session or something like that. So I think for me, it's sort of like, I could help with that, you know, without knowing exactly what the kind of things we are. So I think if we build momentum doing some stuff, we have some completion of some tasks, I think that'll be good for us to go, all right, now I see that. Use that here next, and use that there next.
I think it was good. I'm excited for the logo making. I think that will be cool. And the flyer thing, virtual social media flyer about the mocking cars. I think that will be a good like thing that we can actually say we did and share with people. So, it's good.
I am appreciative of the survey results, us taking a look at those and then seeing if there, all the various ways that we can promote, that we've gotten this feedback and what, you know, and building on that. I think that's.
okay, wonderful. Is Kevin or Tina, do you have anything?
I was just going to say, I appreciate you asking the question. This question and getting everyone's opinion about how they felt the meeting went. I thought that I was glad about some of the things on the agenda. I appreciate the information that you sent out in the survey. And it was interesting to take a look at that because I've heard about it, but to have it, to be able to see it and asking us for help to come back to the next meeting and look at it. So I appreciate all of that. So I thought the meeting went well.
Ditto.
Okay, great. Okay, well, so I'm gonna remind you of our homework assignment before we leave. And our homework assignment is, I am creating a Google Doc with those responses from the survey separated from all the personally identified information. I will send it out in an email, but I think what I'm gonna try and do, I would like to be a little more collaborative about creating the agenda. This doesn't mean that anyone else has to participate, but I'm thinking about sending a draft agenda. Like, I'm gonna go home tonight and come up with my ideas, and by next week say, here's what I think we could talk about at the next meeting. I could send it along with the link to that Google Doc. And then people can respond. And so you all are going to look at those survey responses. And you're going to come up with your own observations, what you think are important priorities, things that maybe you think, oh my gosh, we should immediately put this on the website, or these 3 ideas relate to our purpose. And you've also committed to thinking about and articulating what you see the purpose is. What is your personal purpose? And we'll take that input and we'll all have read it, and we can come back to this next meeting and we'll be thinking about how do we distill that purpose. I really do feel like that needs to be a whole board activity. I don't think that the communications committee can just go off, with 3 folks and come up with that statement. All right.
Is our next meeting the 21st or 28th of February?
The fourth Tuesday.
So the 28th, okay. Mhm.
The last day of the month. Hey, we'll be the only board with a logo. Sloan, that's no pressure on you, right?
Right, definitely not.
Okay. Do I have anyone who wants to move to adjourn the meeting then?
No moved.
I second.
Our meeting is adjourned.
All right. Thanks, Leslie.
Thanks.
Next time I'll be.
No, you're good.
I always feel like,
Lock your door.
So like.
No.
I know, why?
Everyone's.
Yes, they're like
They're done.
it has
She
to end
does,
just-
good.
Sarah might.
No one wants to know, especially because they're starting.
There is.
Getting out the Air Force Academy going.
Well, the Naval Academy is going well. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
going-
I got to.
yes, no, it's going well. He's, they call this the dark ages there. I think it's like after Christmas and before spring break, and there's nothing fun going on, a dark period in there. They get beat down every day. That's what he says, but
So it sounds good.
yes, I think he's enjoying it the way he's supposed to.
Connect to tell me it's like, all right, I didn't see
Last day.
a couple of emails.
Yes.